Okay, I'm gonna try the impossible, which is to be very succinct and to make this video very short, because I want to really just address the basic, most important first steps in mapping out your own money-making journey based on your natal chart. So let's go. Let's hope I'll make this happen in terms of succinctness and shortness. Okay, so the money-making axis in your chart, in anyone's chart, is the second and the eighth house. So let me start with the second house. Second house is your self-employment. Second house in general is the house that has all the lovely words with the self prefix attached to it. So self-love, self-worth, self-resilience, self-reliance, self-care, self-trust. All of these words are second house words. And so that's why, in terms of money making, if we're looking at the second and the eighth house as a money making axis, which we should, which it is, then the second house becomes the house which tells you how you are self-employed. What is your self-employment signature? What it is that you self-employ in terms of your skills and talents, and then sell. But there is a key piece there that you will know if you have done this, and you will find out if you're doing it or not yet done it, right? Which is the cap, which is the limit, which is the stagnation, which is because it's only you and you can only do so much. But there is also the sense in the second house of scarcity, of lack, because that is where the need to be self-everything comes from. Whenever you start off as a self-employed business, right, you soon will have to start reaching out to expand, or you will start crumbling, or you will be detrimental to your health, or it will just dwindle, or it will be deeply unsatisfying. There is simply no way of being in life in general, but in money-making business, to be happily capped. It's just not the nature of money and currency. Yes, it is in your self-employed business model, but the reality of, if you want to have a happy living with it, without worries whether money will come next month, whether there will be enough money, those are the worries of the second house isolated self-employment. But it is the signature of your self-employment, so it should be a very good starting point. In fact, it should be a starting point, right? That is how you start building a business, by being a self-employed to begin with. Now, 8th house, Q8 house. This is where we have to introduce trust. If we are expanding, because we will want to expand, because living in the second house only will, well, I mean, I know also people who have, but it's it's not a happy living. It's those solopreneurs, or not online, I'm talking physical business, because that's my time, my age as well. I have far many examples of people who had their own little businesses, like shops, and were just that living from month to month, because they weren't open to expanding in a way that you can expand in order to secure greater income and wealth, so that you don't have to worry about month to month. You worry about other stuff, but not that. And that's very much a second house self-employed mindset. And people stay there, and they can live for the rest of their lives staying there. But there are all these side effects of not exactly, is it worth it? Is it worth all this unhappiness and stress? And I'm self-employed. I could be working for someone else then, and being less stressed and probably getting the same money and having a regular income, knowing where the money comes from, right? It's just that, no, it's all mine. I gotta do everything. I know best, right? That's the second house, but it's a good starting point. It's essential starting point. You build on that. And then you look at the 8th house, how you build them. What is it, the other layer, other quality? And it's always the opposite sign, which is the beauty of money making axis, because it's about integrating the opposites. That's the journey. That's really the journey. So 8th house is a beautiful way to expand as a human through making money, as in using a business as a vehicle for your own soul growth. And it's the most probably intense. I mean, I haven't made wealth, so I don't know, but I I have transitioned from the second house to the eighth, very much so. And there is that sense, oh my God, it's like, it's scary. You have to trust yourself as well, in a level and in a way that you didn't have to in the second house. So let me just start to get more specific so I don't lose you in terms of you following me. So in the eighth house the eighth house is our underworld. So what that how's that relevant for money making is that your underworld is something you have to go through to be transformed. So in the underworld, essentially, you die and then you get reborn, in the sort of psychological sense, not in a literal sense. Although in a literal sense, if you believe in incarnation like I do, but yeah, that's not for here. It's irrelevant for the money making piece, at least as I see it. So, and why is that important? Because people will pay big money to be transformed. This is why coaching is such a, when it's done well, it's like multimillionaires, because people who know that they will be transformed through an experience led by the coach or by the facilitator, whatever, will pay and be transformed in ways that they have dreamt of their whole life, will pay big money. Even the ones who can't afford. I have been one of those people, but also I know others, and I'm sure you're familiar with that mechanic, right? With that dynamic. So if the second house is the house of self-employment and limited income, it can be a good income, but it's limited. And that limitation eventually will press and will squeeze. In the eighth house, you make wealth, you make loads of money. And the two things you need to consider there, the whatever sign and planets you have in the house, in your eighth house, will tell you how you are transformed best, what your own personal underworld journey feels and looks like, what are the mechanics, literally. So the sign will be fire, water, air, whatever, that would tell you how you get transformed. The planets will also be the kind of the facilitators or the energies that you need in order to get transformed. Also, the sign has its own energy, obviously. But this is just a layering, like getting more information. Like, imagine if you're having a shop in the eighth house. People come to that shop and it's an expensive shop. They have to pay a lot of money because it is how you are best set up to provide transformation. That's really all you need to know about your eighth house to begin with, and then explore that. What are those archetypes? Just follow your intuition. Like, you might have some mythology coming in, like if you have Venus or Mars, think of Aphrodite, think of Ares, Mars, or Pluto, Hades. Do think of Hades as in Hades, right? And the story of the underworld. Just like explore the mythology of the eighth house, because I suspect it's not a house that you maybe even are familiar with in terms of your direct experience, then depending on your age as well. Because ultimately it's not a house we kind of are too keen to go into, unless you have Sagittarius like me, then it's excitement and generally air, fire, but I think Sagittarius is the most excitable and enthusiastic of all fire signs. And so I genuinely have that in me, but that's me. And other Taurus risings, right? So the eighth house will tell you how you provide transformation for which people will pay good money, and how you transform, because that is how you gain trust, because you have part of your business marketing will be to share your own transformation story. Not the story itself, but far more importantly, the mechanics, like how did you transform? It doesn't so much matter what you transformed into, it's the mechanics, and the mechanics will be the sign and the planets you have in those houses. And then, and the trust piece in terms of business versus self-employment. So in terms of moving from self-employment to running a business that makes lots of money, it's a matter of trust. Trusting yourself that you can hold yourself in the space of others, not just clients, but your people you're employing to help you grow, because you can't do it all. Especially focusing on that deep transformative work with your clients will require a lot of your time and energy, but certainly energy, and you need to be very also mindful of your energy. Like, you have to do really good energy hygiene in order to do that work of the eighth house. So that's another reason why you will want an assistant, 2 or 3, and to do that, you will have to trust them. You will have to trust yourself that you will trust them. Like you trust your judgment of them, you trust your choice of them, you trust your management of them. So it's always really trusting yourself that then translate as a trust of others. You can't ever trust another person in the way that we'd like to. Like, we don't know, we don't know, simply. The best people will maybe betray you because that's just the best that they could do at the time, and it was best for them, right? And genuinely best for them. And as a friend, you would wish them that. But still, it felt like a betrayal. And that's what I mean. Trusting other people is a fool's game, really. It's about trusting your own skills, that you have the space, capacity, energetic hygiene, skills, business skills, and all that you have learned as a self-employed second house person, that you can now just bring in other people to help you out, right? And then the last piece is, so you now figured out how you are what is your self-employment, what do you need, and what is your business in terms of making money when you want to expand. How do you expand from the second to the eighth house? So because it's the opposite, you are starting to do shadow work with those qualities that potentially you have even aversion towards. So look at the distorted expressions and the shadow expressions of the signs, the sign and the planets you have in your eighth house, right? The same goes for the second, but more so even for the eighth house, because it's a tougher house. It asks far more of us because it's the eighth. It's like we have grown up. We are an adult at that point. We are kind of a toddler still, right? So of course it's going to ask more of us because we are more capable in that house, but we might have not practiced it, right? So consider all these kind of shadowy pieces in particular. And so those are your second and eighth house, and then you looking at the rulers. That's your final piece for this video, at least. So who rules, where is the ruler of your second and where is the ruler of your eighth? Now this will give you like your business model, like what is or even your business, like what is it, which is kind of the same, like one to create your own business model, you need to know what your business is. So is your business making paintings while singing with a cat on your shoulder in a forest where you're having a foraging farm? I mean, I'm just like collaging it, right? But so, and you will have all that information gathered from the rulers in particular. This is where it gets, the rulers are giving you the juiciest pieces, like the ones that you can just kind of put on a vision board and just like plan and daydream about. This is like where it is. They could be very much connected to the eighth house or the second house, the ones that are less comfortable. Well, that's your assignment, that's your mandate, and you are set up for that, and you will know it. It just might not be as easy and fluffy as you maybe some other people will. I don't know. But yeah, the rulers, where they are, their relationships, so what aspect they're forming, and even if they're not forming anything by orb, by the degree, right? By sign is as important. Please take it, promise me you will look at it as the sign aspect. Like, so if one is in Libra and the other one is in Cancer, but they're in very different degrees, like they're not in orb, they are in square, because those sign square tension will be felt. It will be a tension you will feel, trust me, and it will be important to inform you in terms of the potential tension you will have in your business model, right? So you need to resolve them. So look at how they're talking to each other. They might be even conjunct, but maybe not. And then obviously you want to kind of, the ruler of your second house will be informing your self-employment details. So if you're at the very start of this journey of like starting a business, or considering this for the first time in your life, then you will want to feed that into that. If you already are self-employed, you might even see that it's connected. The two already your life is a reflection of that, the ruler and the second house, right? And then the eighth house will give you like your tools, like how you best, amongst other things, but one of the things the ruler of your eighth house will tell you is like what is maybe the best container, what is the best method you provide the transformation, right? Because the eighth house on its own will tell you how that transformation will feel, what is the energy, what are the energetics of the transformation. Like in my case, or anyone who's earth rising will have fire in the eighth house, so it will be a very like a burning kind of intense experience for the client. And But like in my case, the ruler of the fifth is the ruler of my eighth is in the fifth. So self-expression and creativity is where I thrive, and I have already had a business, well, an offering that I was charging that incorporated that, and it was phenomenal. So it told me, even though I wasn't using this at the time, like, but I knew it, that the art making, self-expression, creativity are all the tools where I'm putting you through to get the results. And I am doing that for myself, have done that my whole life, and I always get results for myself. So that's where the trust comes in, right? And that's that. For now, that's what I'm gonna leave it. This was not as succinct as I was hoping, but